What's going on, guys? It's Filthy, back with another video. Still on the PTR, and today I give you the God Necromancer. This thing feels like you're playing with a hack, like a cheat. It is just absolutely filthy. It is so quick, it's so easy to play, it's incredibly tough, and it is so much fun. Really excited to show you this build. And before we jump in, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so, and a like is always appreciated on a video. So as you'll see from the clips, this thing is absolutely disgusting. It just obliterates trash, deletes juggernauts, and it is just amazing. So let's jump in and have a little look. Now we're going to be using 3 new items, 3 recent buffs from 266 and Season 18. So this is PTR footage. If they change anything for this build, I will make sure to pin it in the comments and update the D3 planner link. But I'm going to assume that everything's coming in as it is, and yeah, I'll show you how the build works. So the reason that this is the God Necromancer is because you pretty much, if you get anywhere near like half decent density and half decent mob types, you will have Land of the Dead permanently up. That means you can just run around the map, everything is frozen, and it just flies apart like paper. Now the reason that we can get permanent uptime on Land of the Dead is because of this recently buffed item, the Messerschmitt's Reaver, and this basically reduces the remaining cooldown of one of your skills by 1 second when you slay an enemy. So if you kill an enemy, you get a 1 second timer off one of your skills. Now the concept with this build is we're going to try and funnel as many of these 1 second procs into Land of the Dead as possible. So this is on a 120 second cooldown. So if you think about it, if you had 50% CDR, don't worry, we're going to have higher than that, but if just say for example you had 50% CDR, then that would be 60 seconds in between Land of the Dead activations. Now it lasts 10 seconds, so that's 50 seconds, so you'd have to kill 50 enemies in that time to get Land of the Dead back straight away. Now because we're pushing our CDR number pretty high, this comes back absolutely ridiculously crazy, and as I say, you can absolutely obliterate enemies really quickly, and this is up so much of the time. It is ridiculous. The right map, you'll floor it in 2 minutes. It's just absolutely amazing. So how are we going to destroy the enemies? Well, we're going to be doing corpse explosion. So we're going to have this on right click. This is just going to be what we're going to use 99% of the time. Close quarters is the most damaging rune. We're just going to freeze the screen, and then we'll have infinite corpses with Land of the Dead. So we just use corpse explosion to blow them up. So once it's activated, bang, 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 everything just blows up. Now if you do come across anything nasty like a Juggernaut or a Rift Guardian, you've also got Corpse Lance Brittle Touch. This is going to be the single target skill, so we'll just click, 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 and whatever it is will just disappear, because this has got a stacking crit effect. So with a few of these lances out, your crit hit chance becomes 100%, and you dump mega damage on a single target. Don't get me wrong, we will be using Corpse Explosion pretty much exclusively the whole way. You'll only ever swap over just in case something catches your attention, as that looks like it might need a little bit of extra work with the Corpse Lance, but by all means you can just put it on autopilot and right click your way through, and that's pretty much it. So we've got to juice up these 2 skills, so let's see how we're going to do it. Now we're going to be taking the Legacy of Dreams Legendary Gem. This is new for 266 and Season 18. It is pretty much the Legacy of Nightmares buff, but condensed into a Legendary Gem. So when we have no set bonuses equipped, every legendary item we have increases our damage by a set percent and reduces our damage taken by 2%. Now these values are doubled if we get Ancients, so we've got 13 slots, so we want all of these items to be Ancient if possible, and that will give us double the bonus. And it will also double the damage reduction, so we'll get 4% per Ancient item. Now I'm too lazy to have ranked mine up to level 99, so I've got level 91, so at max level at 99, this will go up to 375% damage, double that for Ancient items, and it's 750% extra damage per slot, so that's 9750%, and the 4% damage reduction. So bear in mind, even with the footage that you're seeing, I've still got another 20% worth of juice I think to get out of this if my maths is correct, so plenty of room to grow. Now that's the main multiplier. We're also going to be taking Tragul's Corroded Fang, so we're going to get 200% against anything that is cursed, so we will be taking Aura of Frailty, so that is going to give us this radius, so anything in this radius is going to take 200%. Now bear in mind, Again, this is not a particularly well geared out character for me. I am a casual player, but bear in mind the secondary effect here is quite important. The range of the aura is increased by 50% of your gold pickup radius. So pickup radius is absolutely amazing, because the further out your pickup radius goes, the further you can corpse explosion and blast things, because I'm limited at the moment to this kind of circle around my character. But if I can make it bigger, then obviously I'll be able to deal damage to enemies a little bit further away. So that's pretty much the main multiplier. Now we're also going to be taking the Johnstone in the cube. Now you don't have to cube it, you can wear it. We're going to be taking the Flavour of Time as the other neck piece, but this will give us a 200% damage increase once Land of the Dead finishes. So if I pop Land of the Dead now, once it finishes its little cycle after 10 seconds, we're going to get 200% extra damage on all of our Corpse Lancers and Corpse Explosions. Now because Land of the Dead comes back so quickly in the Rift, we pretty much have almost 100% uptime on this 200% buff. Again, if you get good density, you'll burn through your corpses, but Land of the Dead will be ready to activate again either before you've done your 50 stacks or shortly thereafter. And again, it's such a huge multiplier to have, so it works really nice for this build. We're going to be taking Convention of Elements. This is going to give us 200% damage on the particular elements. So Corpse Explosion runs on poison, so whenever it's on poison we again get another multiplier, which is just absolutely huge. And then same for the Corpse Lance Brittle Touch. When it's on cold, it's just dealing extra damage. You don't need to manage this at all, it's just extra damage when it pops up. There's no need to wait for your rotations or anything like that, it will just work as it is. Now we're also going to be taking Crispin Sentence. This gives us 100% against slowed enemies and triple that effect against any other control impairing effect. That's why the Land of the Dead Frozen Lands is so important, because it essentially freezes the screen, procs the triple Crispins, and everything is taking absolutely mega damage. Now the last multipliers that we have are on the gear, so we're taking Grasp of Essence to juice up the Corpse Explosion. So when an exploded corpse damages at least one enemy, your Corpse Explosion deals up to 100% for 6 seconds, stacking 5 times. So again, my secondary roll on here is only 91, so there's again a little bit more room for growth for me in the gear, but again, you know, it's another multiplier for Corpse Explosion. And then we don't want to leave Corpse Lance out, so we're going to be taking the Corpse Whisper Pauldrons. This gives us up to 600% extra damage, so provided we're consuming corpses, which obviously we will be doing with Corpse Explosion, then we've got our extra damage bonus from the Corpse Whisper Pauldrons, so that's ready when we do need to take a single target down. It's there, it's ready, and it's at 600%. So that pretty much covers the multipliers, and as you can see there's absolutely loads of them. And that's one of the reasons why the build is so powerful. So rounding out the build, we're going to be gearing for cooldown everywhere we can. So we're going to be taking cooldown supporting items. So for the helm, we're going to take Leoric's Crown. We want to make sure that we've got a cooldown gem in there. We get double the effect, so that's 25% CDR, really good item to have. We're going to be taking a Vigilante belt. That will roll for 8% cooldown. Unfortunately, you can't cube this because it's in blue. It's not a secondary effect. So you're going to have your other belt option, Dainty's Binding, in the cube. But again, it's another 8% cooldown. So we're also going to be taking the Flavour of Time. This rolls with cooldown as default, which is really nice because cooldown is so important. And we get this awesome new effect that they've added for 266, which is that pylons last twice as long. So if you're blasting through rifts in 2 to 3 minutes, it pretty much means that if you get anywhere near decent half RNG, that you're going to have pylon effects lasting pretty much the entirety of the rift. Some of them last 2 minutes. If your rift only lasts 2 minutes 20 seconds, then you've pretty much had that power the whole way through. It really does, cooldown pylon in particular for this build is just super god mode. It's just absolutely amazing. So that's really, really nice. So another important item for cooldown we've got is the Golem Skin Breaches. This takes 25 seconds off our Command Golem cooldown, and when I explain the playstyle I'll tell you why that's particularly important, but just so you know, we've got 25 seconds off that. It's normally on 45, so that means it's on a 20-second cooldown, and again factoring in the high level of CDR we've got, it comes back really quickly. So rounding out the rest of the gear, we're going to obviously make it a speed build, so we're going to take Nemesis Braces. So this will spawn enemy champion whenever we click a pylon. That's obviously amazing because it means that we just get more progression. We're going to be taking in a Keeler Cuirass because we don't have a single spender on the bar, so we can get a 50% damage reduction from that, so the secondary roll does not matter. We also get 30% damage reduction from the Golem skin breaches, as well as we're getting our 4% times by 13, you know, a fair bit of damage reduction from the Legacy of Dreams gem. And we're also going to take a Dainty's Binding in the cube. That's going to give us 50% provided there's an enemy affected by our curse. So with Aura Frailty, provided we're close to an enemy, they're going to be cursed, and then we're going to get this damage reduction. So obviously it's a close range build. We've got to be within range to proc the Trigger's Corroded Fang, and we've also got to be close to get the Dainty's Binding, and we also need to be hitting things with Corpse Explosion, so it's a close range build. So legendary gems, obviously the Legacy of Dreams we've covered. We're going to be taking a Gogok of Swiftness. This is to jack our cooldown even more, so this gives us 1% extra cooldown and attack speed once we hit, so it stacks up to 15 times. That's an extra 15% CDR and 15% attack speed. And then we're going to take a Bane of the Trapped, which is just going to be a flat damage increase, because we're always going to have something that's going to be under CC, so that's either going to be directly from the freeze from Land of the Dead or from the slow from the Bane of the Trapped. So this is just a flat damage increase. So let's look at the skills. Now the Corpse Explosion, close quarters, it's the most damaging rune on here. The other one I played with was Dead Cold, just to see if we could proc the Crispins with this and try and use a different rune on Land of the Dead. It works, but unfortunately, because the Corpse Explosion just does so much more damage with close quarters, I think this is the better choice. I mean, if you get the right map, Dead Cold works better, but you're a little bit more reliant on density. So I think close quarters is the way to go, but could be worth a test. Corpse Lance Bristle Touch. As I say, this gives us the stacking crit effect, so it's pretty much the best rune to take, I think. You know, you could play with Blood Lance and try and add a bit more damage. There's no point taking Visceral Impact for the stun because you've already got it. Ricochet would be fairly nice if we were using this a lot, but as we only really use it for the Rift Guardian and the occasional Juggernaut, the Brittle Touch just seems to be the way to go. Aura Frailty we've covered in a bit of detail. That's giving us damage and damage reduction. Command Golem, Flesh Golem. Now this is here just in case we don't get density, because as you'll see in the clips, if we get good density, we literally just Land of the Dead and Corpse Explosion the whole time. But if we run out of stuff to kill, we might run out of Land of the Dead, so therefore we need a way to generate corpses, to blow something up, to get kills, to get Land of the Dead back. So this is where this comes in. So 20-second cooldown with our CDR, this is back really quickly. So if I just plop this guy down, you know, you'll see how quickly he's coming back. That's without killing anything, so bear in mind that we will be killing things and proccing our weapon in the cube, so it does come back quicker than that actually when we're in the rift. Now there's no real point, I don't think, taking any of these other runes because we just want as many corpses as possible. Again, could potentially play with it, but I think the flash one's the best one. Blood Rush Molting, gone for this just because it leaves a corpse, so again it's something else that we can blow up with Corpse Explosion or use for Corpse Lance, so it's quite handy just to get that extra corpse, just in case you need to kill one enemy, get a bit of trash going. And it's kind of like lighting a fire sometimes. Once you kill one enemy, you get another corpse, you blow that up, you get more corpses, and so on. Now it is quite debatable. You could take Metabolism, and that will help us when we get to the passives because it spends more life, and you get an extra charge. But I think I like Molten the best, but again, you know, fairly flexible, you can change it if you want. Land of the Dead, Frozen Lands, we're stuck with this. I think it freezes the screen, it stops us taking a lot of damage because everything is locked in place. Infinite Corpse skills, and it procs the Triple Crispins. I did try the Shallow Graves. In theory this gives us an extra 20% out of Land of the Dead, because if you're killing lots of stuff you can get the duration extended by 2 seconds. But as I said earlier, the Corpse Explosion doesn't hit quite as hard, so I do think this is probably the way to go. Passives wise, Blood is Power is really important. This is going to give us an extra 20% cooldown once we cumulatively lose 100% of our life. So in theory, if everything's going hunky-dory and we've got plenty of trash, we're just Land of the Deading, Corpse Explosion, blasting stuff, and this doesn't proc, we don't need it because we've killed enough stuff. We just reactivate Land of the Dead and we just keep Corpse Explosioning. Now if Land of the Dead does drop off, chances are we're going to take some damage. That's where Blood is Power comes in. It will just basically shift us back into Land of the Dead so much more quickly. Now, standalone gives us more armor, so we've only got the 1 pet, so that's a 90% armor boost, and we're going to take final service just in case we get sucked into an explosion or something goes wrong or we're not paying attention. This way we don't proc, we don't lose pools of reflection, and off we go. Now, Dark Reaping is probably the most debatable passive. I've just put it in here because obviously, you know, GR80, you still do get hit pretty hard, and the higher you go, obviously the harder you're going to get hit. And because you just blast so many things to death, what it means is that if you do get low health, provided you can get Land of the Dead going again, Dark Reaping, as you kill stuff, you just get the life. There's no spender, so we don't need the essence component. So we could maybe take Wrathman's Shield, which would just make us invulnerable for 4 seconds after using Land of the Dead. Again, like I found actually shield pylons are a little bit annoying because we can't proc the Blood is Power quite so easily. So Wrathman's Shield again might fall into that. We could try Spreading Malediction just to eke out a little bit more damage. We could try Fueled by Death, which would give us a move speed, which might make the build a little quicker. So you know, it's certainly worthwhile playing around with, and do check the D3 planet because I might swap it to Fueled by Death because the extra 30% move speed would be pretty handy. So that covers the skills and the gear. Now, I can't really think of too many swaps to improve this. So if anybody has got any suggestions, I'm all ears. If you're not that fussed about the 8% cooldown on the Vigilante belt, then in theory you could take the Dainty's Binding here and you would open up your armor slot. So you could cube any of these particular items if you had crappy rolls. You could maybe take an Andariel's Visage for another elemental multiplier. You can maybe take Swampland Raiders and get your Golem skin breaches in here. But the way it is, I think is pretty decent. Now, the only gear piece that we didn't cover in any detail is the offhand, and that's just simply because it's a stat stick, and that probably brings us quite nicely to the stats. So number 1 priority is obviously cooldown. I've got 61%. You know, I could go higher. I would like it a bit higher. I'm missing cooldown on my Crispins, so this is just not rolled particularly well, and I'm missing 4% on my weapon, just because I just haven't found a better one. But there we are. So yeah, stat priorities for your trags, you're going to want damage, percent damage, intelligence and cooldown. For your rings, for your convention, obviously as close to 200% as possible, crit, cooldown and socket. For your Crispins, again close to as 100% as possible, you're going to want intelligence, socket and then crit, so probably crit chance or crit damage. For your gloves, you're going to want crit, cooldown, and then probably intelligence. I mean, if you're pushing this super high and you've got Mega Paragon, you could probably roll off the intelligence for area damage. That would probably be quite nice. For your Corpse Whisper Pauldrons, you want to get as close to 30% as possible. You want cooldown, intelligence. I've got vitality and life percent because Necro is just squishy, and even with everything being frozen, you will still find that you do take damage. But by all means, area damage would be nice. Corpse Lance damage would be okay. I'd probably prefer Corpse Explosion damage somewhere in the build because you just use that so much more, but you can be quite flexible with it. For your Leoric's Crown, you want intelligence, vitality and crit chance and socket. For your Aquila Cuirass, intelligence, vitality, armor, and then as I say, you don't need to worry about the secondary. For your belt, you're going to want intelligence, vitality, armor and 8% cooldown roll. For your Golem skins, 25% on the Golem cooldown reduction. You then want intelligence, vitality and armor. For your Steuart's Greaves, you want intelligence, vitality, armor and probably move speed. For your Flavour of Time, this is a real bugger. It's really hard to get this rolled well. I mean, it's great in some respects because it's got an extra stat, so in theory it's better to wear this and have the Johnstone cubed. So in theory you would want probably cooldown, double crit, socket, and then something really nice like maybe poison damage or area damage, something like that. You know, maybe even intelligence or damage would be fine, but you know, you're just gonna have to do the best that you can. For your Nems, I've gone for poison just simply because again we're using the Corpse Explosion so much and not so much the Corpse Lance, so intelligence, vitality, crit chance as well. And then for your offhand, for your Phylactery, just a complete stat stick, I'm gutted. I did finally find a primal one just before PTR started, and unfortunately it hasn't loaded up with that in my inventory, so I've got to use this one. But you want damage, intelligence, crit hit chance, cooldown, and then I've gone for vitality again just to kind of help with a little bit of toughness. So that pretty much should cover the stats. So as I say, there's a D3 planner link with all the bits and bobs in, but that pretty much should do it. Now if you do take the Johnstone, obviously you're going to want double crits and a socket and as close to 200% as possible, but I really would go with the Flavour of Time because the cooldown, I just can't stress how important it is. The high cooldown is what makes this build. So guys, in terms of playstyle, you want to jump into the Rift, and then as soon as you see enemies you want to activate Land of the Dead. You probably want to teleport first just so you can get this move speed from your Steuart's Greaves procced. You then want to hit Land of the Dead. That will then freeze the screen and allow you to trash with Corpse Explosion. Your first cycle won't hit quite as hard because you won't have your Johnstone bonus active, but the idea is that you don't really want to be pressing Blood Rush at all until about when the Steuart's Greaves is about to pop. Once the bonus is going to drop off, because you want to cycle your cooldown reduction into Land of the Dead, and the same goes for the command golem. It's there just for an emergency. You don't want to press it at all because you don't want to be killing things to reduce the cooldown on this. You want to be reducing the Land of the Dead. So these three skills are the only ones we've got on cooldown, so provided we can be minimal with our presses of these two, then it means that Land of the Dead just comes back really quickly. So that's it guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, leave a like, subscribe if you want some more PTR content. I'll leave you with a really quick rift clear now, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.